Hello there, it's January 2025. I just wanted to say something about this recent release of Eurasian lynx into Scotland over the last week or so. It appears that at least probably four lynx were informally liberated by who knows who in Scotland, and it's caused real problems. I mean, they've been caught now, or four have been caught, one of which unfortunately died overnight. And these were really habituated lynx, it would seem. And they appear to have been just basically dropped out of the back of a vehicle and left to fend for themselves, which is certainly no way to proceed with a lynx reintroduction project in the UK. Now, I for one am certainly in favour of lynx reintroduction when it's done properly, using kind of robust scientific ecological processes that are most likely to ensure the welfare of the animals concerned, and that they can go on to build up a viable population of lynx in the UK. So I think there's little doubt that the UK, and probably quite widely, is capable of supporting a low density of lynx. Food abundance is certainly not a constraint. So, their primary food resources, things like smaller deer, are, as we know, overabundant. And if anything, I think lynx will not have a noticeable impact on the kind of the abundance of smaller deer in Scotland or further south in northern England down to southern England. But there's plenty of food available for them. So I don't think food availability is really an issue. And there are plenty of areas of relatively low human population density and fairly extensive areas of habitat, woodland habitat, and some more open woodland shrubby mosaic habitat, which are more than capable of being part of what would be very large individual territories of Eurasian lynx. So I don't think the question is whether there's a habitat here. There certainly is, and whether a viable population could be built up over time. I think the question is how to do it, at what stage, and it needs to be done professionally. It needs to be done with professionalism, using well-established conservation science. So, you need to release enough animals annually over a number of years to gradually build up a viable population, taking into account mortality, both natural and anthropogenic mortality, such as death on roads and illegal killing. So, yes, we definitely do need to reintroduce lynx, and we need to do that quite soon. And what's really good is that organisations and individuals and the farming community and others up in Scotland have been working hard over recent years to build up an understanding of what lynx could bring, how we might reintroduce them, and how we might manage any concerns and possible impacts. Now, I'm pretty sure there won't be predation of livestock, but we still need to bring the farming community along, and we need to bring the hunting community along as well. We know from areas in Europe that lynx and hunting can coexist when the situation is well kind of managed. We've got an unusual situation in the UK in that some areas, by no means all hunting, but some aspects of hunting here is very intensive, where predators are pretty intensively controlled. Even small mesopredators, weasels, stoats, those kind of things are not very well tolerated on many upland estates where red grouse are basically battery farmed. But lynx don't, they're not going to be living in those kind of scorched landscapes. Upland grouse moors are going to be living in wooded landscapes. So I think it would be possible to bring the hunting community along, and some in the farming community as well. I think one key aspect of encouraging the farming community, kind of giving reassurances and basically recognising the valuable role of the farming community in accommodating wildlife on their land. One thing we may need to do is have a rewilding stewardship scheme, where we basically support farmers that want to do rewilding and species reintroductions on their land. We reward them from public and private funding for doing that, and that should include large predators such as lynx. I mean, lynx isn't a large predator really compared to wolf, It's a medium-sized predator that is very shy, very retiring, lives at very low density. Although there's a question around, given the food abundance is so high in the UK in terms of deer availability, that territory size would probably be smaller than it might be in other landscapes, which means you might be able to fit more lynx in. But yeah, I think we probably need some sort of wildlife or rewilding stewardship scheme to support farmers. One aspect being to recognise their role in accommodating large predators such as lynx in large landscapes. But what we definitely don't want to do in the case of lynx are these kind of bodged reintroduction. Or it's not even a reintroduction, it's just an informal, fairly childish throwing them out of the back of a vehicle. That's not the way to do it. Lynx, you cannot build up a viable population that way of lynx. It's ecologically immature and wrong and illiterate to think you can. And I suspect this wasn't done by kind of, as the Zoological Society of Scotland unfortunately called them, radical rewilders. I don't think that was done. I don't think that's good terminology to use either. I think it's most likely done by private collectors who happen to have wild lynx, or not wild lynx. These are pretty domesticated. They're very habituated to people. It's got to be done professionally. It needs a proper species recovery plan for Eurasian lynx. It needs a partnership of conservation science and conservation NGOs and the farming community to really take this kind of project forward, and some private financing and public financing. And what I will say is we shouldn't delay more than we need to the reintroduction of lynx. They really ought to be here. The habitat's here. They're a benign species. They're not going to cause the kind of problems that some in the farming community and the hunting community fear, and we really need to get on with it. But people in Scotland are making really good progress. So we need to give people the space and the time to build up a consensus in favour of reintroduction, then we need to go for it. What I will say is that similar concerns were expressed during the early kind of consultation for the Isle of Wight white-tailed eagle reintroduction. But really, in the case of that project, which I've been involved in the early years, I come from the Isle of Wight, seeing is believing. The people that were really concerned about white-tailed eagles have discovered, now there are white-tailed eagles in a landscape, that those fears, well, they've been allayed, the fears, because, you know, white-tailed eagles have not misbehaved. They've been very much as the conservation community suggested they would behave. They've not gone for lambs, they've not gone for sheep. They're eating cuttlefish and mullet and, you know, grey-lag geese. And they're really behaving. And I think we'll find with Eurasian lynx a very similar picture. They'll kind of disperse and go and hide in remote landscapes away from people, and we'll never see them, which is fine. It's just, you know, we don't have to see a species for it to be a legitimate part of the British countryside. Just having them there is enough, frankly. And seeing the signs of them, seeing them on remotely set camera traps, that would just be superb to have lynx back, and I think we really do need to have them back. But let's not bodge releases. Think of their welfare and think of the need to build support amongst local communities and devise a programme that is ecologically sensible and would actually work. So tell me what you think in the description. Do you agree with that stance? From what I've read on the media, most people do. And if we can just, you know, back off a bit and do this properly, then I think we will have lynx back, maybe within 5 years, a decade, hopefully within 5 years.